Mark,
He
did this
did.
really happen?
Yeah, he did.
Did this really happen?
Yeah, basically they waited too long to bury him, so they had to sort of close the casket, put him down quickly, and the service ended short. It's a history thing.
It's a history thing, and what sources actually say that?
Historians.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
For those who cannot see me, I am staring at the camera with Elmo's discontented look.
Yeah, like I'm Rocco. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Rocco. The Rocco saga is my favorite.
Hello, greetings, and welcome to Archaeoscoop. This is the show where
We talk about news from history, archaeology, and the cultural sphere.
yeah, classic. We're back to the classic. I like it. It's like whoever said vanilla was a bad flavor, they're wrong. They're wrong.
No, listen. Vanilla is the problem is that there's a very big difference between vanilla and garbage vanilla. Okay,
Uh-huh. Mhm.
there's actual vanilla bean, which
Yeah.
is nice,
Yeah.
and it actually tastes like vanilla. And then there's things that people call vanilla that are not. There's no
Extract.
vanilla in
Yeah.
it.
Mm.
Yeah, or it's just like ice cream or ice milk, and they say vanilla, and you're like, there's no vanilla in that. Why would you call it that? So don't call something vanilla when it's not vanilla.
No, exactly. But
My mother would always get vanilla garbage, and so because we could never have chocolate because she had problems, so we suffered without chocolate for ages, and I'll never forget we went to a grocery store and there was a gentleman. We went to a place called Pathmark, 80s
Mhm.
kids if you remember Pathmark, and there was a man who walked up to the ice cream bar and he goes, "Ugh, all they have left is stupid old vanilla," and he walked away. And my mother was morally wounded, and I just turned to her and went.
You see, yeah. Well, vanilla historically was very highly prized as well. You know, it's only
Yeah.
recently it's become something which people don't think of as exciting. Yeah,
Well, it's still real vanilla is still expensive.
yeah, but not as expensive as Ram. We've been
The Ramageddon.
yeah.
The Ramageddon.
Oh my God. So what's your news story? Wait, how are we going to kick things off?
Oh, we got some doozies this week, Mark.
Uh-huh.
So, Mark and I have been talking about this, and I'm sure everybody's going to have a collective laugh in the comments, which is Musketeer D'Artagnan's remains
Uh,
believed found
hmm,
under a Dutch church, and
yeah.
this comes straight from the BBC, or the PBC, the People's Broadcasting. And this is I'll read it to you first, and then we will have a collective laugh at it.
Okay.
More than 350 years after the death of legendary French musketeer D'Artagnan, his remains may well have been found under the floor of a Dutch church. Jos Valke, I believe that's the way this person pronounces their Dutch name. I apologize if not. Who is deacon at St. Peter and Paul Church in Maastricht. Again, I believe that's how it's Dutch pronounced. Helped unearth the skeleton and is 99% certain that the remains belonged to Charles de Baz de Casamar, a close aide to France's Sun King Louis, who was known as Count D'Artagnan. This is written weird because D'Artagnan is known as Count D'Artagnan, not Sun King Louis. D'Artagnan was killed during the siege of Maastricht in 1673. Sorry about that. But later immortalized in the adventure stories of Alexandre Dumas. As a friend of the Three Musketeers, his remains were long rumored to have been buried in the church, but no evidence has been found until now. But remember, they're only 99% sure.
Yeah.
Deacon Valke told the BBC that nobody had dug under the floor until now. But as a few tiles had been broken and it was decided that, I love that. I love that they waited till it was in disrepair and they go, oh, the tiles are broken. Might as well have a look now, shall we?
Yep.
Let's just have a look, see.
Mhm.
They first found a wall and took out a brush to dig further. At this point, an archaeologist was called. Doesn't say the archaeologist's name, but just ring the bell. Archaeologist?
Yeah, the archaeologist. Yeah.
They just come in going hop 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 with their trowels, who discovered the skeleton beneath the altar table where it had stood 200 years ago.
Hmm.
We became quite silent when we found the first bone. Oh, that sounds a bit ominous. He said, adding that there were several pointers indicating that the skeleton belonged to the Sun King's right-hand man. He was buried on a sacred ground below where the altar was. We found the bullet that put an end to his life. Very interesting. And we found a coin from 1660 in his grave. And it was from the bishop who attended the mass at Roi Soleil. The archaeologist who took part in the excavation is more cautious. Again, not
Hmm.
named.
Hmm.
So again, the hop 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 that they summoned.
Although walk, don't
So
run with your trowel, please. Walk, don't run.
yeah,
Thank you.
especially on wet floors.
Yes.
So the archaeologist TM, who is not named, says, "I am a scientist, but my expectations are high." Oh, his name is Wim Dijkman. Nice.
Oh, okay.
Told regional public broadcaster Omroep Limburg, adding that he preferred to wait for DNA confirmation of the skeleton's identity, which is the smart thing
Yes.
to do.
I know we don't know 100% if they are Richard's, but when we put the bones in the box, I'd quite like, John has a Richard III standard, and I'd quite like to just put it over the box to get it into the van. If
Now, it goes on, but Mark, what is the problem with this?
Well, I think the problem is the thing that people are imagining around this, and the fact that no matter what you find in that grave, it's not going to live up to Dogtanian, as in the animated adventures, as in whoop, 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 whoop.
One for all and all for one. Masker hands are always ready. One for all and all for one. Helping everybody. One for all and all for one. It's a pretty story. Sharing everything with fun. That's the way to be.
So it can't beat that. That's the problem. Yeah.
The really big problem here is D'Artagnan, as in the Musketeers, never existed.
Yeah.
It was a character that was invented by Alexandre Dumas, and his life was used as the basis. But it's for the D'Artagnan romances, the three of them. There's the Three Musketeers, 20 years after, and the Viscount of, I think, Bragelonnet or something like that.
Okay.
But it is completely, it starts in Gascony and then it ends here in Maastricht, where we are now with the grave. But it's completely fictionalized. It's not real.
No. Although I did have a strange crush on Milady de Winter in the Dog series again. I'm talking about, yeah.
What about Milady de Winter in the Chris
In all of
O'Donnell
them.
one?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And then of course in that one, when I was a teenager, I thought I wanted to be Kiefer Sutherland, all cool. No, it's Oliver Platt all the way.
Absolutely.
Oliver
110.
Platt.
Isn't Roquefort a smelly kind of cheese?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the fact that people are so amazed by Porthos the pirate that they just jump off ship when they see him.
Porthos the pirate! Pirate? I told you I was famous.
Just he's perfect. Come, we're storming the castle. No, we're rescuing the king. Sorry.
Oh my God, it's Porthos the pirate. I told you I was famous.
Yeah, exactly. He's perfect. He's the one you want to be. And
Yes.
Oliver knew it. That's the thing. Oliver knew it. He was like, yeah, romance and someone with, emotional issues, but I'm going to have fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, who doesn't want to be opposite Tim Curry as the
Yeah.
cardinal?
Yeah,
He should rule France instead of me.
God forbid.
exactly. It's the best version. Well, it's one
It
of the
really
best
is. It's so
versions.
ridiculous, and I love
Yeah.
it so much. I mean, honestly, the Three Musketeers Disney version walked so that Pirates of the Caribbean could
It
run.
did, yes. Yeah.
And if you've not seen that original version, it's very not the book, but it's a
But
great movie.
Yeah, it's so good. Also, though, did you, folks at home as well, but did you in Canada, did you get access to the BBC production a few years ago?
No, Mark.
Oh, it was so much
As I said
fun.
to you yesterday when we were interviewing Greg Jenner, many people think that the CBC and the BBC are
Uh-huh.
connected because you would think Commonwealth, okay, it makes
Yeah,
sense,
yeah.
public radio. No, we get nothing. We get nothing from the BBC. In fact, I have to listen to You're Dead to Me a month after it airs because we don't get access to the BBC iPlayer or anything like that. So,
Yeah. Mm.
nope, I have to wait.
What was that? We talked to Greg Jenner, and there'll be a
Yes, we
video
did.
of it coming soon on your YouTube channel. Goodness
Yes,
me.
on my channel, the Legends and Lectures channel, at my author page, Mark was there, and we had a wonderful over an hour
Mm.
conversation with the wonderful, the lovely Greg Jenner, who is a fabulous public historian, and who's written many books, including one of my favorites, A Million Years in a Day. And we did talk about that, how unfortunately in Canada we're very limited by what we get from the BBC because even though they're not connected and we have to license stuff
Mhm.
from the BBC.
Mhm.
So we have our own programming, some of which is wonderful and very great, but our programming is nowhere near the breadth and the scope and the historical value really of the BBC,
Uh,
unfortunately.
uh, well, again, I'll just say I have lots of crushes. I had lots of crushes when the TV series was out. All the boys were amazing.
Yeah.
Lots of man love. Okay, so my first news story of the week is it's with the headline. This is from the BBC, ironically enough, given what we've just been talking about. BBC News. This is coming from the Hull and East Yorkshire Bureau of the BBC. And the headline is Church dismantles a huge pipe organ and finds an older history. And this is something which I am not surprised by. In recent years,
Okay, but wait, is it as cool as the mummified cat and mouse that they found at Christchurch in Ireland when they took apart the organ?
almost certainly not. But it's not uncommon. This is my point. It's not uncommon to find, especially in these sort of secret little places. So in the church where Mr. Soup and I got married, behind the organ there's lots of little notes that people have written there for decades. And someone gave me a little preview of that space when we were arranging our nuptials. And in recent years, there's been projects looking at graffiti that even sometimes is hard to see, but with the right lighting, it suddenly becomes visible, medieval
Hmm.
graffiti. And when organs were installed, these great big things that require compressors and machinery, they often covered up stuff that then people completely forgot about. And in this instance, leaders at St. Mary's Church, Beverley, decided to give away their towering pipe organ and were thrilled to find a church in Oslo that were happy to take it. And so began a major operation to move the instrument and uncover the secrets of a part of the building unseen for more than a century, as hidden East Yorkshire has been hearing. But how do you dismantle such a massive structure and ship it across the sea? Well, you can read about that for yourself. But but when they did dismantle it, and there's also actually this little video clip, and there's an audio clip in video form on the article if people want to have a listen. When they did take it apart, having been quoted £1 million to restore it. Yeah,
Whoa,
that's
that's a lot.
one of the reasons why they were thinking, well, let's sell it on. They decided to obviously take it apart, ship it, and what they found was, well, for example, memorial stones behind the organ. So on the wall, very grubby looking, obviously lots of dust, but memorials that hadn't been seen for a century. Um, there's a lot of sadness in a way, they said, because that's part of our history. And it's also a sense of unveiling an older part of history that most of us have never seen. So there are memorial stones, which meant that they were able to, as they put it here, relive some of the stories that you can encounter with them, and obviously it adds a bit of richness in documentary evidence. Roof bosses were found, architectural decorations found in the ceiling beams where they intersect. The sort of the bosses are like sometimes you'll see ceiling roses, this kind of thing. Well, in this instance, they were carved in medieval and Tudor eras. Although, as we were discussing with Greg, what does Tudor mean? I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
they didn't call themselves
no,
that.
no,
And what does medieval mean? The middle of what?
yeah,
We don't know.
no. they and also interestingly, they say here they'd probably have been carved by women. Interesting. We're seeing these really for the first time, they say. So we don't know what all of the stories are and what the symbols mean, but we'll investigate them because across the church we've got 680 of these bosses, and now obviously they have a few more. Interestingly, we've got everything from mermaids to temptresses to Bible stories to things to do with local culture at the time. There was a
All those nice things that women like, so they carved it.
yeah. There was bear baiting as well, apparently, on one of these.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is the ones that were already visible.
Are there pictures of all of them?
Not in this article, no, unfortunately.
Okay.
Two gargoyles.
Mark will now go and find pictures of all of them.
Two gargoyles. Yeah, all 680. Just, two gargoyles on either side of a doorway also have interesting stories. These gargoyles will be medieval. They were supposed to represent people pooing out evil from the back of the building.
Love it.
Okay.
So are they there holding the fundament open and
Yeah.
letting the evil come out?
The
Is that
bridges,
what they're doing?
Oh, not the bridges. Yeah, the fundament. Again, there's no picture. So he looks a little bit like he's having a few problems, doesn't he? Bless him. They say.
That's great.
So it's
That's
a
great.
fantastic story in one of my favourite parts of the world, and Beverley is well worth a visit. And also, this doesn't look like it's the Minster. This very much looks like it's the church in Beverley, or a church in Beverley. But the Minster is
Okay.
also well worth a visit as well. Yeah.
Mark is waiting for me to say. So my second story
Yes.
is so here we have another controversial one.
Yeah.
And we have a call and a response. And so I'll
Okay.
read the headline to you first. It says King Harold's 200-mile march to the Battle of Hastings is a myth, says research. And I say research in air quotes because it's
Yeah.
you'll see it's mostly a kind of an idea of a mistranslation. So it says King Harold. Well, before we start, what's the story of King Harold's march, Mark?
Harold, 1066. Harold, who has taken the throne, claimed it from Edward the Confessor, has gone on a march up north to rebut the advances of another Harold Hardrada from Scandinavian land, one of the last famous Viking kings, I suppose you could say, or people often describe him as Hardrada, meant hard ruler, whatever that means. Maybe he was a bit cruel. They had a battle in Stamford Bridge. According to mythology, someone was skewered from underneath the bridge. This berserker was holding off the quote unquote.
Were there berserkers, Mark?
I know. These quote unquote English forces on their own, and there's a big mythology around it. But one of the biggest myths is, or one of the biggest parts of the story, part of the legend, I should say, is that there was a quick march back down south to meet William, not Norman the Conqueror. Sorry, William the Conqueror, Builder Basher,
Who was Norman?
Who was Norman. Meet him before he took London. So there was a really quick march. I can't quite recall. Obviously, they'll say in the article how quick it was. And it's said to possibly have set them up for a loss at the Battle of Hastings. So Harold's forces were knackered, basically. And then obviously he got an arrow in the eye, according to the Bayeux Tapestry in particular. And
But is it a tapestry, Mark?
oh, God. Was it made in Bayeux? No, but also one final thing. A little fun fact about this whole story is actually not Norman, for goodness sake. Harold wins really because he just gets buried. His remains are dealt with. William lives for a long time, builds various churches around the place because he sort of feels like he might have done a bad going around killing people. And then, apparently, at his funeral, explodes. Yeah, and people have to leave the church because he's so bulbous. He's just so gaseous.
Mark.
He
Did this
did.
really happen?
Yeah, he did.
Did this really happen?
Yeah, basically they waited too long to bury him, so they had to sort of close the casket, put him down quickly, and the service ended short. It's a history thing.
It's a history thing. And what sources actually say that?
Historians.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
For those who cannot see me, I am staring at the camera with Elmo's discontented look.
Yeah, like I'm Rocco. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Rocco. The Rocco saga is my favorite.
But yeah, I always like to think that in that sense, William, while he's famous, he also had an infamous burial as well, funeral. Yeah.
So, while that did not happen, he probably just
You go
oozed
ahead
all
and
over the
talk.
place.
I'm gonna look on my phone.
Look for that source. You will not find it, or it'll be a source of many years after he died. I'm very sure.
Okay.
So, this one is talking specifically not about any other erroneous part of the tale, but just about the 200-mile march, which most historians are very sure happened. But this says King Harold's legendary 200-mile march across England to the Battle of Hastings in 1066 is a quote-unquote myth that likely never happened, according to research published last Saturday. Now, again, research is just going to see it's not exactly what you think. In arguably the most famous battle in English history, the Anglo-Saxon leader was defeated by William the Conqueror, who became the first Franco-Norman king of England at Hastings, October 14th, 1066. The decisive clash, which marked the start of the Norman conquest of England, is depicted on the Bayeux Tapestry, which is really an embroidery, set to be brought to London to France this year. Ahead of the Tapestry's exhibition, starting in September 26, new research from the University of East Anglia revealed that the tale of Harold's famed march to the fight was a misunderstanding, it says, in quotes. The account of the march as taught in British classrooms rests on what the historians argue is misrepresentation of the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a written record of medieval English history. Now, Anglo-Saxon Chronicle is usually pretty accurate. But the Chronicle recounts that Harold's ships came home. For at least 150 years, historians understood this to mean the king dismissed his fleet September 1066. That shaped the narrative that Harold and his troops were forced to march over 200 miles, or if you're in the rest of the world, it's 320 kilometers, from Stamford Bridge in Yorkshire at the northeast to Hastings on the south coast to ward off the Norman invasion. But Tom Lysons, professor of medieval history and literature, found that the ships returned to their home base in London remained operational, which suggests that they were likely used by Harold during his journey to defend against the invasion. So what does he say? I checked the evidence for him having sent the fleet home and found that it was just a misunderstanding. I went looking in the sources for evidence of a forced march and found that there wasn't any. Kind of a bit like, okay. Who presented the findings at University of Oxford last Tuesday. According to Lysons, a story of Harold and his men traversing the vast distance of 10 days is quote-unquote implausible. The historian also pointed out that other early accounts which describe Harold sending hundreds of ships to Hastings after William's landing, suggesting he still had his fleet at his disposal. Harold's campaign was not a desperate dash across England, it was a sophisticated land sea operation, he claims. Again, with no evidence of this. And so what did other people have to say about it? Well, in comes celebrated professor
Like a wrecking ball. Yep.
Mark Morris pops in and goes, So he wrote a whole paper about this because, again, his question was, and everybody's question is, what is the evidence that you have of this? And so everybody was asking. So this is what Professor Mark Morris says, famed medieval. You can't find it, can you, Mark? I can
can't
see it in your eyes.
No, I can't.
I can see it in your eyes.
No, go on, go ahead. Give
No,
me
you go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
give it-
I'm right. Go on, Mark.
No.
Go on. You tell the people how I am right.
There are two main accounts of William the Conqueror's death. The more famous of the two is the Historia Ecclesiastica, written by the Benedictine monk and chronicler Odoric Vitalis, who spent his adult life in Saint Andrew Monastery in Normandy.
And how long after
Oderic's-
Harold's death was that written?
Oderic's contemporary, William of Malmesbury, added the gruesome detail of William's belly protruding
And
from
therefore,
the
it
coffin.
never
and-
Thank you, Mark. I am right.
And
so, Professor Mark-
Hang on. Let me just say, because yes, I am disappointed by this.
Mark, did you really doubt me?
No, it's not that I doubted you. It's just that. So what? This is the thing. Okay, this is the thing. It is. It's kind of like, and actually they say it here. Actually, I'll read what they say here.
I am
It-
I am putting up my do tell hand
Is the
and
tale
waiting for
is the tale of William's exploding corpse true? While chroniclers were, in theory, recorders of events, the medieval equivalent of journalists, they, like Herodotus before them, knew the effect of a great yarn and that effect would have on their readers. There's nothing new about the public's interest in gore and guts, and if some early writers had been chronicling today, they'd have probably had jobs in the gaming industry, perfecting the script for William the Conqueror, the Zombie 2. So it's based on historical documents, and therefore I didn't just make it up.
You said fun fact.
It's a fun
Is it a fact,
It's
Mark?
a fun fact that it's widely
it a
thought.
fact?
It's widely thought to have happened. It's like,
I think not, my sir. I think not.
at least I wasn't hallucinating it.
Well, just go back to the
Look at-
Mario.
you're trying to look all,
demure.
yeah.
And so too with this. In comes...
no, sorry. I just realized what you said. Mario, really? I'm never gonna live that down, am I? It's Sumi.
You were so sure. And I speak Japanese, and I can't believe you didn't ask me.
The stupid that was the BBC. That was the BBC.
I can't believe you didn't ask me.
And anyway, someone in medieval times wrote down that William the Conqueror exploded. That happened.
And how much longer after his death? And the answer is quite.
I
a lot.
haven't checked.
So
Probably a little bit of
didn't
time.
happen.
Yeah.
No.
No.
And so likely too with medieval, you know what, you should ask a medieval historian, Mark Morris, because he is combating this new idea that Harold didn't actually do his march. And so
Yeah.
he wrote a counter article which says, did King Harold really sail to the Battle of Hastings? And so he writes, headlines in newspapers all through this weekend, historians have got 1066 all wrong. Previously, they thought King Harold, who was famously defeated at Battle of Hastings 1066 by William the Conqueror, had marched his troops all the way from Yorkshire to Sussex in the days leading up to the battle. But new research by Tom Lysons, professor in history at the university, shows King, in fact, sailed south. Clearly, the history books will have to be rewritten. He's being a bit facetious here. So it says, a few journalists asked for my reaction. I declined to comment. I'll wait, I said, until I've read the professor's arguments in an academic paper rather than a press release. And this is why peer review is so important, folks.
And this is why you don't listen to medieval chroniclers. Yes. Okay.
And the second that you said it came from a medieval chronicle source, I was like, really? Was it my boy Gerald who said there were werewolves in Ireland? Who was it? It was, should we talk about Jeffrey? Should we talk about my boy Jeff, who just says, yeah, Arthur was real? You know, their point in chronicling history, yes, was to write things down, but they also had biases because they were all people forget that they were all from different kingdoms. And, you know, they think, oh, they were all English. No, they were not.
No. And
Some
their
of them were from
orders had different
Strathclyde.
loyalties as well. Yeah.
And so they had agendas and they had ideas. If you read Gildas, you're like, wow, Gildas is the angriest man I have ever seen. And he makes everybody but his own people look like demons. And so they had their own agendas. And so of course if they don't like Harold, they're going to write that his stomach exploded and that God did a holy and
No,
even though he made
no,
his churches.
It wasn't Harold. It was William.
Oh, William, yeah.
Yeah.
But still, they have their own biases, and they're going to say horrible things. Even stuff that Bede. I mean, Bede is pretty good, but he still had his biases. Even stuff that Bede wrote. Easter is this weekend, right? It's Easter weekend. What did Bede tell us about Easter? He said that one line that the Anglo-Saxons called this month, not even the holiday. They called this month Yostromonath after maybe a god that they worshipped, and that's all we know about anything. And you just go, thanks, dude, thanks.
Yeah.
Could you have told us anything else? Is that true? Is she really a god? How do you know this? And you just go, you mother. And he has caused so many problems because people now look at it and they go, well, what did he mean by that? And so
Well,
I don't trust him with the monkeys either when it
no, no,
comes to
no.
this kind of
And
thing.
presumably all week you're just getting on TikTok lots of people sort of saying, the sacred the sacred holiday of worshipping oyster. I always say oyster for some reason. Oyster. Uh, like, um,
Oestra, Yostra, Astra, however
yeah.
you want to pronounce it,
Mm,
has nothing to do with the holiday of Easter. The naming of it, sure, we could talk about, but there is no ancient holiday. There
mm,
is no record of anything from the Saxons
no.
saying any
And
of
rabbits
this.
and hares
It's,
have nothing to do with that.
oh no,
I
absolutely
mean,
not.
with
That
that to say, that's just to say, this
no,
has
no,
nothing to
no,
do with that.
no, that's all
Yeah,
nonsense that's
no,
made up
no,
by
no,
much later folks,
no,
by Victorians, of
yeah.
course. Because the Victorians ruin
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
All that was made up. And the eggs come from the church
Hmm.
because they were forbidden during Lent, and this is the time when hens actually started to lay again in the spring. And so they were a cheap thing that many poor people could eat as a way to break their Lenten fast. And so that's what they
Hmm.
did. Lent just means lengthen. It's the lengthening time. That's it. Nothing
Hmm.
else sacred to Saxons. Easter was never a Saxon holiday, and no,
No.
absolutely nothing. The name we got from Bede, and he says absolutely nothing about a holiday, Jesus, nothing, zero.
But of
So
course, now we know the meaning of the season, and that is the construction of the squeg.
yes, very true. Yes. Yeah, actually, so how's it going? How's Squeg 3.0 going?
Squeg 3.0 is going well. I've just constructed a jig so I can cut a 45-degree angle to bevel
And
the
now the
sides.
question is, are you going to make it look like a Zonai artifact? Are you going to carve it?
Ah, uh, I don't know. I think I'm tempted to think this year is going to be about making the best cube I can, and then next year adorning it or molding it in some way. But yes, folks at home, obviously, I've already put on screen what the squeg is and what it looks like. This Sunday, I will be very much joyous if the squeg works. Yeah. Hmm.
So finishing other erroneous news,
Yep.
our Professor Mark Morris goes on to say, license contends that scholars have misunderstood the Chronicle at this point and assumed that Harold broke up his fleet. This is surprising because the text of the Chronicle seems pretty ambiguous. The king allowed his army to disband and set his ships back to London. And then he talks about how he wrote about the Norman conquest in his books. It says the Wessex militia was dismissed and the king and his housecarls retired to London. The ships were also ordered to repair to the capital, and on this way thither, many of them were lost. And
Hmm.
so, where he gets this idea that the march didn't happen when it clearly does state that the ships were
Hmm.
sent home,
Hmm.
don't know. But it's a very long article, and I do encourage you to read Mark Morris's entire article on this because he does go through it. And so he says the crucial question for our purposes is how did Harold then travel northwards? From the reports in some of the newspaper, you'd think that license was claiming the king had gone by ship. But I'm not sure. And he says, I'm not sure that this is what license is actually claiming. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of misinformation going on here with regard to the reporting and what license actually said,
Hmm.
and then the other counter evidence, etc. So I do encourage you to please go to Mark Morris's website and read the very long and thorough investigation that he did.
Okay. Okay. Well, my second story of the show is something which I always love, and it's one of those foundational. In fact, I'm doing it right now. I'm putting fingerprints in a blob of blue tack because I cannot sit still. Um, it's the universality of discovering fingerprints as an archaeologist.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Sometimes it's paw prints, for example, on Roman roof tiles. That's one of the most famous ones that often turns up. But in this instance, this is well, there are three sources for this article. There's the scientific paper published in Science Advances. There is the IFL Science article that this article I initially found quotes, and the article I initially found is from Smithsonian Magazine. And it says archaeologists have identified traces of children's fingerprints still visible on clay beads created 15,000 years ago.
Wow.
15,000 years ago. It's incredible. Discovered in present-day Israel, the beads suggest that Natufian groups used clay for symbolic purposes many years earlier than scholars.
Is it ritual, Mark? It's ritual.
I think this might be why they've used the word symbolic. You know, they're trying not to fall into that trap. But it's the use of clay in essentially what is a pre-pottery, pre-Neolithic. And the Natufians were, and I always use this word when it comes to Natufians because I love the word in conjunction with them. They were incipient farmers. They were experimental in some respects, often described as having sort of gardens where they would bring useful crops together. We see it in terms of the seeds that are gathered and reused and replanted, crucially replanted. And the fact that also people are playing with clay is incredibly interesting because there is something called the pre-pottery Neolithic. There is this idea, there is not necessarily the solid idea that farming and pottery has to come together. And in fact, it doesn't. But here we have the beginnings of agriculture, which isn't entirely successful, and also fiddling about with clay, which of course people.
I disagree respectfully, and I would say that this is a success because
No,
they're failing at doing farming,
Yes.
but succeeding at creating archaeology.
no, this is true. And so what I mean to say is it didn't. It's not like the tells that we see, the mounds that we see in places like Turkey, where generation after generation were relying on agriculture for large scale and growing populations. So hence incipient, hence it was experimental, hence though really interesting. It's one of my favorite cultures to study actually. This discovery changes how we understand the relationship between clay, symbolism, and the emergence of settled life. Says lead author Laurent.
I can feel the Sean Connery tweed popping in.
An archaeologist at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem stated, the 142 ornaments were found at 4 sites associated with Natufian culture: El Wad, Nahal Oren, Heonim, and Einan Malaha, across 3 millennia. So 3,000 years. Inhabitants of these sites shaped the small beads by hand into cylinders, discs, and ellipses. Not ellipses, but ellipses. Traces of organic plant fiber identified in some of the beads suggest that they were worn on strings. So, again, beads being worn on strings, probably as jewelry, necklaces, this kind of thing. Many of them had also been decorated with red ochre using techniques known as ngobe, a thin layer of liquid clay smoothed over the surface.
Delicious.
Yeah. This is the earliest known use of this colouring technique anywhere in the world. The clay ornaments, was that a slurp?
I just had a hiccup, sorry.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Yeah,
delicious.
The clay ornaments are covered in fingerprints, palm prints, and fingertip depressions, according to the study. Some of these markings appear to have been made by children. For example, the researchers think that a child pinched one elliptical bead at the moment when the wet clay was pressed directly onto the thread. As they write in the study, children were also manufacturers rather than just curious onlookers. Of course. they
Remember,
were.
kids, the children long for the Mayans.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. But the sheer number and diversity of beads and pendants suggest that clay had become a medium for visual communication long before it was used for bowls or jars. Again, really interesting in that context. There's some good imagery as well of the beads and handling and this kind of thing. And they underscore that, yes, Natufians were one of the first cultures to be settled in one place. Becoming villagers for the first time changed their perception of the world. It changes not just your perception, it also changes you, I would say, as well. It changes everything about you. But also the fact that these shapes, as they say here, these new shapes which emerge at the dawn of village life when wild plants were intensively gathered, suggest that plants were also important in the symbolic sphere of early villages. So the beads might have been mimicking things like, for example, barley, lentils, peas, and flax. So again, really cool, just really interesting research. And also, this work comes on top of a study last year where they also found a clay figurine in northern Israel. and this depicted a woman with a goose on her back. Do you remember we talked
Oh,
about
yes,
that?
we
Yeah,
talked about
yeah,
that one.
yeah.
We talked about that one. Where
Um,
it's not sure whether the goose is actually, because they said that the goose was mating with her, and I'm like, why can't it just be sitting on her
yeah.
shoulder?
Is
Why
it?
is this so
Is
weird?
it? Yeah. Is it symbolic? Is it literal?
Is it ritual?
Is it literally as you think you were saying the time that someone was attacked by a goose and they just won't let them forget
I think
about
that's
it?
what it was. Somebody
Yep.
was attacked by a goose, and they made the statue to be like, immortalized forever, made it for your
Exactly.
birthday. Here
Yeah.
you go.
Um, but Leo Grossman, an archaeologist, again, Hebrew University of Jerusalem, was involved in the study of both of these instances, told Reuters that figurine was evidence that the sedentary lifestyle generated major transformations in social structures between humans, and also between humans and their surrounding environment, which then led to major transformations in storytelling, symbolic expression, artistic techniques, and then I'm adding on, therefore, things like clothing and the essentially playing with the vocab, as an anthropologist would say, the visual vocabulary of what people are wearing and how you would signify your place in the world and what you enjoy. But I just love this whole story. It's as I say, it's in that incipient farmers. It's the use of clay before it being pottery. It's not just as especially men archaeologists in the 80s might have said,
Men.
men. They always have to say, oh well, people are using clay because it's great for making something functional. Well, actually, art obviously is functional, and jewelry is functional.
Absolutely.
But the fact that you've got children playing and making
Yes.
is something which I think it's fair to say would have sort of either gone over the heads of or not been given the proper attention that previously it might have deserved from those archaeologists. I think, especially from men in the past.
Men.
Yeah.
My neighbor Rita, who just came back from Mexico, she brought me a bird that was made out of clay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about this big, but when you put your lips to the tail, it actually makes a warbling sound.
Oh, okay.
And it's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. And
Do you have
so
to put water in it, or?
yes, you have to
Yes.
put a few drops of
Yeah.
water in it. And it's pretty amazing. But when I look at this, I don't in any way think that this is ritual. It's a toy that
Yeah.
was made by, she said she bought it from a kid whose dad was making, his dad had a kiln,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just on the side of the road, and the kid had a couple of toys that they were playing with. So there was he was selling it. He was
Yeah.
selling these. And you look at it, and maybe now we would look at it and think, because the bird is actually quite elaborate,
Mm-hmm.
and you think, oh, it must be ritual, but no, it's a child's play toy.
Yeah.
And
Well, and just to slightly break that down a little bit further, there's this idea of a cost benefit ratio that people often apply to things like this, and they'll say, oh well, the time it took to make this. The thing is, if you're good at making them, it doesn't take you any time at all.
yeah, also, what
know.
else are they gonna do 15,000 years ago? They don't have PlayStations.
Well, exactly. Yeah. But in that sense,
In back in my day, we had to make our own toys.
in that sense, artisans become very fast, especially
Yes.
when by definition they're basically relying upon it for trade. And there's nothing that says, I mean, as you say, it could just be people. It could be people playing. It could be something which is something other than ritual. But also, there's nothing that says actually that people couldn't have been essentially bartering for their existence based on the stuff that they can make. And again, it's hard to talk about that in a prehistoric context because you get very quickly down the economic rabbit
The ritual
hole.
rabbit hole.
Well, no. Well, actually, the
The economic rabbit hole.
why is the word gone from me?
Commerce.
We live in the time of peak
Capitalism.
capitalism. That's it. There you go.
Hey.
Yeah, I was just like, what's the word? Yeah, it's in that you very quickly fall into thinking about it in that sort of way. It's not likely to be like that. But I do believe that undoubtedly, in the same way that people would and could have provided religious services, that is to say, services to the community, by doing services, perhaps, I don't know. I imagine
Yeah, we've no
art
idea.
and music, and even if we would think of it as storing information, it's a communal memory vault or something, these are important, and and therefore not just abstract ritual.
I have a bonus story of something that's very similar and even more important.
Okay.
You know what this weekend is, Mark?
Easter weekend.
More importantly, I would argue, it is the Penis Festival
Oh,
weekend.
of course. Yes, of
It's the
course.
Connemara Matsuri, or
Yes.
the festival of the ire, or the steel phallus, and this is and many people think that this is
It's
an
obviously it's
ancient
ancient.
fertility
Oh, it's
ritual.
not ancient, no.
Absolutely not. It's Kawasaki. It's in Kawasaki. The Kanayama Shrine made this because they were losing funds,
Yep.
and they invented in 1969 is when this, of course,
Nice.
is yeah, exactly. And you can get your penis biscuits and your penis cakes, and you can see Elizabeth, the pink phallus shrine, and you can sit on the black iron
Oh,
penis.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, Elizabeth, the pink phallus shrine. And you can go Kanemarafune and enjoy all the wooden penises everywhere.
hmm
Yay! But yeah, I just love I love how they bring out Elizabeth.
hmm hmm
And
It's
it's a giant penis.
but also it's the fact that everyone's just having penisy fun. There's
Yeah,
lollipops, there's people, everyone's
yeah.
got like hats on. Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, this reminds me, probably a timely reminder of
Get your
someone.
dick checked. Yep.
Yeah, well,
Timely reminder.
I'm on the app to the GP, just going, yeah, okay, I need you to check me. No, it's I saw on Blue Sky a couple of days ago, someone had shared a screen grab of what they called the still the best candidate for best headline of all time, and it's giant phallus-shaped iceberg floating in Conception Bay surprises the residents of Dildo, Canada. Is
This
that
is a real
real?
place. Yes, it is a real place. This
And
happened. I think it's in 2023 that this happened.
and
Yeah,
there's
this is an old.
the iceberg, yeah.
Look, think that was in 2023 because Dildo is a place in Newfoundland. It is real.
hmm
Many people go there thinking, and so they've just kind of uh, hammed it up
Yeah.
as it's gone on, and so they've named everything around this. But it is true, and that happened a couple of years ago, and that was not an AI image. That was a real iceberg that
It's
was floating
amazing.
in the
It's
bay.
amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's just floating along,
Yep.
point,
It's a real calf just
pointing
going
to the
la la
sky.
la la.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, yes, whatever you get up to this weekend, whether it's chocolate penises or chocolate eggs, hopefully you're going to have a good time. What are you doing anything? Because obviously, I don't know. I mean, do you like Easter in the same way that you like Christmas, or?
Oh, I celebrate all the chocolate holidays. I mean, even Passover, because it's Pesach or Passover tomorrow, which is the original Easter, and then that now even has its own chocolate with there's chocolate matzah and
Well,
the
and of course,
classic disgusting jelly slices that you have to eat.
and of course, they painted chocolate above the doors.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes,
Instead of blood
yes,
in Egypt, they
yeah,
took chocolate, which was certainly around in Egypt at
yeah,
the time. Because Egypt and the New World
yeah,
had that connection,
yeah, yeah.
and they painted the doors with
Yeah, it's
chocolate,
like
and so that's why.
don't bother putting yeast in your bread and just put your chocolate on the door. Don't eat
Yeah, put
it.
your chocolate on the door
Yep.
to appeal to the gods of Montezuma,
Yeah.
and they will ride you out of Egypt, out of Goshen, on a river of chocolate
Yeah.
into the land of milk and honey.
That sounds like a Toblerone. That's a good time.
That's the real reason for the season, kids, is that Moses took everybody out of Egypt on a river of chocolate, and they created milk chocolate by flowing into the land of milk and honey. And so then by extension, many years later, this is why Jesus died for our sins, so we could eat chocolate. And so
Do you know, it's interesting. This is something that we've talked about in our Easter quiz.
yeah,
And just as last time, I linked to the St. Patrick's Day quiz below. I'll also link to the Easter quiz below as well for people who are interested. But it's fascinating. It fascinates me that people all too often rely on best guesses, half truths, received wisdom, and or something along the lines of, I think this might make sense, and therefore I'm going to tell my kids this. And in this instance, I think in the quiz, we talked about the eggs and where they come from and why they're
yes,
associated with Easter.
yep,
And I remember as a kid, my mum and a few other adults around me you could sort of, in hindsight, I could tell that they were sort of just spinning
Full
in
of
the
shit.
spot, trying to just find some reason. But they talked about it being like the boulder in front of the tomb or something like that.
Okay, so there is a we did talk about this a little bit, but there is a
Yeah.
tradition that the first of all the eggs obviously were for Lent because like we just talked
Yep.
about, where they were forbidden during Lent and they were a cheap way for peasants to really get their meat
Yep.
during the first meat, quote unquote, meat of the year, and they were easy to do as well. The Lutheran Church ran egg hunts and things like
Mhm.
that, so they became associated with the springtime with fertility, but not pagan
No.
fertility. There is
Mhm.
no pagan anything. But the red eggs that are painted, quote unquote, the blood of Christ in the Eastern Orthodox tradition, those symbolize the
Yes.
tomb of Christ
Yeah.
because they're, quote unquote, empty. Because the way that you make them, you obviously dip them in the red and then you do the pin and then you let the inside fall out. And so the eggs are meant to represent. And then, of course, the story came later that when Mary went to check the tomb, she brought Jesus a basket of eggs and they turned red. That's the story.
Okay. Mhm.
I think maybe that's what your mom was referring to. But my mom used to do this stuff all the
I
time. My parents didn't grow up religious, and when we finally became religious, my mother would say, "Well, just do it." And I'm like, "But why? Why are we doing this?"
Yeah.
And she would go, "I don't know, just do it. It's important." And you go, "Well, if you don't even know, if you don't even like it, why are you bothering? It just didn't make sense to me." I love all holidays, as I always say, as I say in the beginning of my holiday book. I love a holiday.
Mhm.
I love a holiday. Any holiday that there is, I don't care what it is, I'm in. I love the hats. I love the traditions. I love the chocolate. I love the stories that go along with a holiday. All holidays are made up and they all come with their own set of traditions, and people make new traditions all the time, and I
Mhm.
love this crap. And so when I hear people trying to say, "Oh, I don't know why we do it. We just do it." I'm like, you devalue the ingenuity and forget about sacred nonsense, but it's the value and ingenuity of human invention and creativity that I really like.
Yeah, and I suppose in that sense, it's a collective expression of something,
Yes,
which is valuable. Yeah.
tradition,
I guarantee.
tradition.
But although I guarantee you, Mum did not know about the red eggs and the tomb association. I think it was literally just a bit. Yeah,
So enjoy your chocolate, kids. Have fun. Have your
exactly.
chocolate eggs. Have your chocolate penises. Whatever you want to celebrate this weekend. Have your chocolate beads in honor of Yostra, whom we don't know whether or not existed.
Yeah,
Please do.
yeah, yeah. Until next time, guys. Thank you for watching. Do take care. Bye bye.
Doodle-doo.